Shalom Aleichem, everybody. This is Parshas Beha'alotcha, and there's a very, very well-known Gemara quoted by Rashi in the Parsha regarding the two psukim by Vayis'u Mehar HaShem, which are bracketed by two upside-down nuns. Very peculiar, these upside-down nuns. Why do we find in the Sefer Torah itself that the Chumash brackets these two psukim? So the Gemara cites that why exactly do you have Asa HaKadosh Baruch Hu Simonios Milmalo Lamata? Why is that the case? Lomar she'ein ze makoma. This is the Gemara in Maseches Shabbos, Daf Kuf Tes Vav Mebeis, Anta Kuf Tes Zayin Amud Aleph. It's not in its proper place. So where exactly should it be? And why is it not in its proper place? What exactly is going on over here? So the Gemara says it was displaced from its proper place a few parashiyos earlier, put over here. For what reason? Lahafsik bein Puranus Rishona lu Puranus Shniya. To make a separation between one bad thing and another bad thing. The Gemara then wants to know, okay, I understand what exactly is the bad thing, the Puranius Shniya. So if you take a look at the pasuk right after Vayihi ha'am k'misonim, right after Vayi ben Saron is the pasuk Vayihi ha'am k'misonim. The Jews started to murmur, they started to complain, kvetch, and indeed it led to very, very bad things. A plague, Hashem was very angry. So the Puranius Shniya is very, very clear that they started to complain. What exactly was the Puranius Rishona? So you look at the psukim, it's not entirely clear. The Gemara wants to know what was Puranius Rishona, and the Gemara answer is very, very striking. The Puranius Rishona is the few psukim earlier, before Vayi ben Saron. The pasuk tells us, Vayis'u Mehar HaShem. The Jewish people left Har Sinai. What's so terrible? They had to leave Har Sinai. They were on an agenda, planned to enter into Eretz Yisrael. They had to leave. Why is that called a Puranius? Why is that so terrible that they left Har Hashem? So the answer, a number of things you could say. The Ramban, Tosas also in that Gemara points out that the Puranius of Vayis'u Mehar HaShem is how they left. They left Ketino Kaboreach Mi Beis HaSefer, like a child runs out of school at the end of the Zman, or at the beginning of a recess. He can't wait to get out of the class. They fled. Perhaps one can argue a little bit different, that the essence of Vayis'u Mehar HaShem itself, just walking away from a profound experience, walking away from a monumental place where you had the profound experience of Kabbalas HaTorah, of bonding with Hashem in that deep level at Har Sinai, even if they didn't walk away, Ketino Kaborek Mi Beis HaSefer, even if they walked away regular, casually, but just leaving a place of phenomenal Kedusha, phenomenal inspiration, that itself has the impact of Puranos. That's called Puranos. So therefore, Vayihi ben Saron was taken out of its regular location and placed over here to create some kind of break, some kind of hafsaka between the Puranos of Vayis'u Mehar HaShem and Vayihi ha'am k'misonim. So what are we supposed to do? What were the Jewish people supposed to do? After all, they had to leave Har Sinai. There had to be a Vayis'u Mehar HaShem. What's the alternative? You can't just stay in Yeshiva your whole life. You can't just stay by Har Sinai your whole life. What exactly is the solution? So perhaps another idea, also from Maseches Shabbos, also found in our parsha, perhaps therein can be found the answer. There's a Gemara in Maseches Shabbos, Daf Lamed Aleph, where the Gemara deals with the malacha of soter, destroying. You're not allowed to go ahead and undo a structure. And the Gemara says, a striking chiddush, this view of Rav Yossi, that soter, when you destroy a building, a structure, it must be, you're only chayiv if it's almanas livnos. That's not such a chiddush. Soter, destroying, is a destructive act. Meleches Shabbos are only constructive acts, so it must be almanas livnos. Rav Yossi has a nuanced chiddush, and he says, not just almanas livnos, but it must be almanas livnos bimkomo. It has to be with the condition of rebuilding that structure in this place, or rebuilding a structure. So you're not going to knock down a building, as you find in many communities. They knock down a small house to build a more majestic house. So that's called soter, almanas livnos bimkomo. You're using the space in order to build something even greater. Says Rav Yossi, that's the only time you're going to be chayiv for the melech of soter, almanas livnos bimkomo. So the Gemara asks a very, very good question. What do you mean? We learn all of the malachos of Shabbos from the Mishkan. The Mishkan was dismantled and reassembled. But when it was dismantled and reassembled, it was not reassembled bimkomo. It was moved from place to place in the midbar and then reassembled. So how can the Gemara tell us that you have to be so Amanas Livnos Bimkomo, when the very source of Meleches Soter, destroying, is the Mishkan, which is not rebuilt, reassembled in the same exact place? How can that possibly be? So the Gemara gives a very cryptic answer. The Gemara tells us, based on Psukim in this week's Parsha, well, since when they disassembled the Mishkan and reassembled, it was Al Pi Hashem Yachanu, Al Pi Hashem Yisa'u. They were all doing it Al Pi Hashem. Kisoter Amanas Livnos Bimkomo Dami. It's as if they rebuilt it in the same exact place. Very cryptic. What does that mean? Okay, Hashem, we're following the dictates of Hashem and moving from here to here, and therefore it's still called Amanas Livnos Bimkomo. Why? I'm in a different geographical location. What exactly is the pshat? So Rav Chaim Shmulevitz, in his Sefer Sichos Musar, gives a very, very beautiful idea. He says as follows: when the Jewish people were traveling in the Midbar from place to place to place, really, yes, geographically they might have moved, but every single move they made was Al Pi Hashem Yachnu Al Pi Hashem Yisa'u, and therefore, essentially, they were in the exact same place. They were right there with Hashem. It gives a mashal that really brings the idea home. Imagine a baby being held by her mother, and the mother is traveling with the baby, cradled in her arms, from this location to that location. So the baby is certainly moving from place to place. But from the baby's perspective, you ask the baby where it is. It was in the arms of his mother, and it continues to be in the arms of his mother. It has not moved an inch whatsoever. It continues to be embraced by the mother. So perhaps that's the message of this Gemara, is that since they were traveling Al Pi Hashem Yachnu Al Pi Hashem Yisa'u, everything was on the instructions, following and connected to Hashem. So therefore, they weren't really moving. Yes, geographically maybe, but psychologically, philosophically, they were in the exact same place. That's called Soter Amanas Livnos Bimkomo. And perhaps that's the solution to the challenge of Vayis'u Mehar HaShem. True, and we're standing here the last few days of Yeshiva, 5775, we're wrapping things up. And this was my message to the boys, but I think it's a message that is well beyond our time in Yeshiva. Is life makes us travel from place to place. Unique challenges, unique opportunities, and we're constantly moving along. Vayis'u Mehar HaShem. But does that mean we're withdrawing? The answer is, if your travels through life are Al Pi Hashem Yachanu Al Pi Hashem Yisa'u, then indeed the Puranos, what the Gemara calls the Puranos of Vayis'u Mehar HaShem, doesn't have to be because you're never Vayis'u Mehar HaShem. When you go ahead and leave Har Sinai, but if you're leaving on the dictates and your life is patterned after a vision of Al Pi Hashem Yachanu Al Pi Hashem Yisa'u, then you haven't left Har Hashem. You're not going to have that Puranos. And the challenge for us all is we're in modes, we're in places, whether it's in yeshiva or the rest of our lives, and we're engaged in experiences of spirituality, and then we withdraw from those experiences. But if you go ahead and you carry that experience with you, you're always moving Al Pi Hashem Yachnu Al Pi Hashem Yisa'u. As I like to say sometimes, yeshiva is not a place, it's an attitude. And if you have that attitude, and that's how you live your life, so then there's no such thing as that Puranos of Vayis'u Mehar HaShem. Your entire existence is one of Al Pi Hashem Yachanu Al Pi Hashem Yisa'u.